Thank you, KingsPride. I am Raelcun. I go by they, them pronouns, and I'm very excited to be here to showcase Crimzon Clover for you all. This is one of my favorite shooting games. Just to get things a little bit started, this is the World Explosion version. It did come out more recently. It has an arrange mode, which we're going to be playing. It adds a couple interesting options for scoring. This is going to be a high score showcase, not a speed run. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to try and get as high of a score as I can. I'm aiming for at least 20 trillion. Really big number. If you can't tell, because there's going to be a lot of numbers on screen, the red digit on my score is the trillions number. So keep an eye on that one if you ever get lost. And we're going to try and do our best. If I start making too many mistakes, because, I mean, this game is very hard, I will back off, start playing a little more safely, try and make sure we get the 1 credit clear. But because this game is so hard, I'm not really going to be able to talk and play at the same time. So I've got Charbunny here. Why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
Hi, my name is Charbunny. I use she, her pronouns, and I am so excited to be here today and talk about this incredible game.
All right, so we're gonna get right into it. Because there's so much to talk about in this game, there is a short tutorial. Charbunny's gonna narrate over the tutorial. We're gonna get started. The timer's gonna start when the ship launches from the carrier. The timing doesn't really matter super much here, so it should be whenever around there is good.
So it won't start when we start this tutorial, it will be after we finish the tutorial mode. So let's go ahead and get into that tutorial mode. Select our ship, get everything all sorted, and this is where we're gonna go over how certain things in the game work. So range mode is a mode where we start a lot weaker than other game modes, but we become much more powerful throughout the course of the game. This is our basic attack, it fires in front of us. We also have a lock-on shot that we can charge up. The bullets charge individually, and as we charge them, the game will look for a radius around our ship to lock onto enemies, so you can see which enemies we're targeting by those blue indicators on screen. The nice thing is the lock shot will never overkill an enemy, so once enough things are locked on to kill the enemy, it will search for other enemies it can possibly target as well, which helps us kill a lot of small things very quickly. We do have small things next to us. The little tiny ships next to us are called our options. They fire alongside us. They fire slightly differently based on whether we're doing regular shots or lock-on shots at the moment. The meter across the bottom is how we're going to power up our ship. So you can see that right now it's sort of hovering over a speed power-up. The next one will be giving us more lock-on bullets to charge up. But a really, really important one that we're going to be looking at a lot here is called break mode. Break mode is essentially the Super Saiyan mode of this game where we do more damage and we earn more points from items that we pick up, which is fantastic for a high scoring run, because the faster you kill stuff, the sooner you get those items, and then the higher your score goes, which is wonderful. It also charges that meter across the bottom much faster. And if you thought break was great, guess what? It's whatever comes after Super Saiyan. There's like 10 options, take your pick. That's double break mode, which does even more. But here we are, we're gonna get into the main game. So time will start when the ship actually spawns on screen, which is gonna be in about 3, 2, 1, let's go! All right, level 1 is very tightly routed because there's a ton of things we need to upgrade very, very quickly. The first thing we want to do is get into break mode. Break mode is going to get that meter up much faster, which is going to let us get all of our power-ups much quicker. The way that we're doing that is by going up to these ships, and before they open and start to attack us, we're doing what's called point-blank attacks, meaning we're standing right on top of them, and our bullets are hitting within a very small radius of our ship. You'll see small lightning effects on screen when that happens. That indicates that we're doing it correctly. We're already into our first break mode. You can see how much faster that screen moves. And we've already gotten some options upgrade. Again, options upgrades are those small ships on the right and left side of us. And the more bullets we fire, the faster we kill stuff, the faster that meter builds. It's important to get those as soon as we can. We're now going to max out our lock-on shots. You can see that we're moving that meter very quickly. And now we max speed, which is the first thing on that bar, so it gets maxed pretty quickly, spamming through. The final thing we're going to go for here is going to be a shield. In the top right, you can see this giant orange number called our break rate. That's a huge multiplier. That's fantastic. Right underneath it is a meter. It's green. Right now it says rank low. We want that to say rank high. Getting the shield gives us a temporary boost, and now we're in high rank mode, which means the game just got a lot harder, but it also is going to give us more points, which is what we're looking for. This means that we can actually get the maximum possible multiplier, which is that green number right underneath where we now have that red high rank mode meter. The way that scoring works in this game is that enemy kills and items are multiplied by that break rate, which just keeps going up, as well as any green multiplier that you might have on screen. Some items are also doubled or even quadrupled in value depending on whether or not you're in break or double break mode. So keeping all of those things active and keeping all those numbers going up is going to be crucial for getting max score in this game. The reason we wanted to get powered up here is because the second part of this level here is waves of enemies. Waves of enemies means that as soon as you kill one, another might spawn in. And the more enemies that spawn in, the more scoring items we get. And once again, numbers gonna go up, which is what we're really looking for in these high scoring runs. At this point, though, we come to our first boss of the game. There is a boss at the end of each stage, and this one is going to be a giant tank. Now, something that's important to note about this boss is that while you can just kill it outright, we will need to do that, the 2 turrets that you see on either side of it are destructible, and if you destroy those turrets, they drop 5 EX items each. That's the biggest item in the game that gives you the most points. If we kill the boss without killing those turrets, we miss out on all those EX items. So this boss is a strategic play to get those turrets killed with our max multiplier if possible. The way that we get our multiplier to come back, you know it's not there right now, there's no green number on the right side of the screen, is by killing something with a lock-on shot with max bullets ideally to get that max rank multiplier. So there you see giant lock-on shots starting to come through as we work our way through this boss, killing both turrets, getting some of those high scoring items, and we're gonna try to kill the boss itself with a lock-on shot if we can. It's tricky to time, but we'll see if this works out. That looked good to me. The game sometimes does great. We did nail it. There we go. Excellent stage 1. You can see our scores already nearing like 2 trillion points, just by the way, casually. So numbers go up very, very fast in this game. In between each stage, we are going to have a small screen here that's going to talk about the points that we get, give us some bonuses for different things that happen throughout the stage. And that gets longer and longer as we go throughout and we get more and more scoring opportunities. But that's the end of stage 1, which is going to bring us into, you guessed it, stage 2. Congrats to everyone who can count with me so far. The big goal to start off stage 2 is to come in fully powered up, which we are, so congrats to us, we're doing great. And we are going to see a new enemy type in this stage. There's a type of enemy here that's kind of our friend because it's going to come back in multiple stages throughout the game, and each time it gets a new attack. It's the one firing purple bullets, so look out for those to see where our friends are spawning in. They also are our friends because they spawn 2 EX items each, and those are those giant items that give us a ton of points. You can see some of those stars in the middle of the screen now. With this stage, one thing that's going to come up pretty quickly is a large tank, and we need to be ready to take that one out. There's different types of enemies. Some of them are smaller, pretty easy for us to dispatch, but they don't give too many points. Other enemies are larger. They may even have multiple parts like that boss that we just saw that we're going to need to take out independently. Knowing what type of enemy you're up against is crucial to making sure you're making the right decisions on how to tackle the problem, how to get the maximum amount of points out of every single type of enemy that this game has to offer. This area here is interesting because it looks like a boss arena because it is a boss arena, but not in this game mode. In other game modes, there is a mid-boss for stage 2, but in this game mode in particular, the stage 2 mid-boss is actually going to show up in stage 4, so we'll see that friend coming back later on. The second half of the stage is where we see trains. Anyone out there like trains? Thank you. Trains are fun. Unfortunately, these ones are full of mines, and they fire those mines at us, and they're very dangerous. The good news is when you kill the mines, you do get items for that. The bad news is the mines don't like being exploded, and they fire off what's called revenge bullets, essentially bullets that only spawn on death. In this game, the mines right now in this stage are going to spawn in pink revenge bullets. So if you see sort of pink blossoms on screen, that's the mines being blown up. And the trade-off here is that you want to kill the mines to get their items, but if you kill too many, the screen is going to be covered in those revenge bullets and you won't be able to move around. So blowing up the mine carts that carry the mines will clear the screen and let you get back to a safer state. So watch here as Ray decides whether or not to tackle those mines, how many of them to take on before just blowing up the entire screen, getting all those scoring items together. This game is heavily risk-reward when you get into scoring strategies. That brings us to our stage 2 boss, which is my least favorite one because I don't like how it looks because it kind of looks like a spider. It has 8 eyes. It does only have 6 legs, so that's slightly better, but still, look at this thing. It's not very fun. This boss is our first boss to introduce phases. You can see on its yellow health bar at the top of the screen, there's 2 silver lines. Those are going to be phase transitions. In the first phase, we're really just trying to get through things. These patterns aren't very nice, so we'll just keep things focused here. In phase 2 is where we're going to try a couple different strategies to get maximum points out of this stage. We do control the phase transition by trying to kill the boss at certain points. If the boss has a lot of bullets on screen when we either break or do a phase transition, that can turn into a big scoring opportunity for us. So timing those breaks and timing that phase transition can really make a difference when it comes to scoring. You can see that that phase transition was a ton of bullets on screen, so we got a lot of points from that. In phase 2, a big priority for us is killing the segments on the legs of the bosses. Not only are those worth items, but they are going to create an absolutely brutal pattern in phase 3 if we don't take care of them now. In order to do that, we're actually using a new type of lock shot. Once your lock shot is matched, you can switch it from being a homing radius around your ship to this blue and red circle out in front of your ship. That is perfect for targeting down specific parts of a boss, which helps us get that maximum score. We are now into phase 3 on this boss though, so we just want to get rid of it. This pattern is very dangerous and makes it difficult to cross the screen in order to get scoring items. It does a great job of trapping you in a corner, but thankfully, got out of there unscathed. And we got the lockout shot for all the items. Let's go. While we're getting through the countdown and into stage 3, Pride, I'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. And I love to hear from all the people sending out support, like $5 from Alara, who says, "Hey, Ray, I'm so happy and excited to see you on stage running this game. You are amazing, and this game deserves being shown off. Break a leg and keep up the amazing schmupping."
So we have time for one more if you'd like.
Fantastic, because I have $50 from Ivan, who says, "Let's go, Ray. Numbers go up."
Numbies, let's go.
The numbers very much go up in this game. All right, we are now into stage 3. Guess what? Our friends are back. They do have a new attack like we promised, but you won't see them because we kill everything too quickly. Unfortunately, we did take a hit there, but it does not mean we took a death because we did have that shield. There are no bombs in arrange mode. The only way to bomb a screen like that is if you take a hit with the shield. So we're a little bit more perilous right now, but thankfully we didn't lose out on too much yet. We just need to be maybe a little bit more careful, but once again, risk reward. We'll see what we end up doing here. There is a big ship that just spawned in. This is one of those ships that has breakable turrets on the side, so targeting each turret individually before taking down that ship is important to maximizing your scoring items. Each of those turrets drop scoring items independently, so you want to focus those down. Here's where we get into a section that's a little bit more bio than mech. You see these flowers here. They start closed. When they're not really too much of a threat, we can walk up and point blank them. I don't know why I keep saying walk up. We're flying up and point blanking them. But after they open up and start these radial bullet patterns, you notice we have to back off to make sure we have enough space to dodge everything. So it's important to once again balance how and when do we go up and attack things at that close point blank range in order to really fill up our meter? And when do we hang back, play it a little bit safer? Here comes our mid-boss for stage 3. We want to kill this one as quickly as possible because as soon as this boss is eliminated, the remainder of the time allotted for this boss fight in this stage will be waves of enemies, which means more scoring items, which means the numbers go up even faster. So killing this quickly is really our target. There was a phase transition. I was going to talk about phase 1, but yeah, the boss is dead, so we're just going to move on from there. Very nice quick kill on that boss. Moving into the second part of the stage, our friends are back. This time you can actually see their new attack. It's red waves of bullets. So if you see red waves of bullets, please say hi to our friends. Chat, I'd love to see you saying hi to our friends when I watch chat back after the red. They're so nice. We'll also have a larger ship coming back in to end this wave. So once again, a bit of a balance between these smaller enemies and the larger ones coming up. Here we go. Here it is again. I don't think I've quite talked about items yet. So those large stars that you saw right there, those are our EX scoring items. Those are worth more than any of the other items in the game, so it's very important to pick those up. But in arrange mode, they do not vacuum toward your ship unless you are like actively transitioning into or out of a break mode. So we do have to move back and forth to like pick them up individually, which is pretty tricky. That's going to be something important as we get into the next part of the stage and we get a new type of enemy, which is going to be the snake enemy. Shout outs to our last run. These ones, though, are more like the animal in that they have a lot of different segments. The most important thing, though, is to make sure we kill the head. When we kill the head, you'll see that just this wave of EX items will drop, and that's a ton of points for us. You can kill the tail, you can kill the segments independently to get a couple extra points, but you cannot miss out on the head if you want to get a really high score, so it's important to make sure you don't miss those enemies before they leave the screen and you lose your opportunity to take them on for good. Going back to the items real quick, so those large items, EX scoring items, there's smaller stars as well that are going to be falling down the screen. Those ones are a little bit nicer about going towards your ship. And when we hit enemies, depending on if we're in break mode, depending on things like that, we can get these little tiny diamonds that are also worth scoring points. Oh, hey, look, the large ship's back. Oh, hey, look, there's a second large ship. I love when the game is like, what if we just gave you more of these? That's going to get us pretty close to our boss fight for stage 3, though. So this one, following a bit more of that bio theme, is going to look a bit more like a flower. It's going to start off closed, a little bit more contained, and it's going to open up over the course of the fight. Here we can actually get pretty close to the boss to get those lock-on shots for a little bit, and then this bullet pattern happens and we need to focus on dodging. But something else that we have is our homing options ability. So most of the time the options are next to our ship firing forward. That is a lot of bullets, oh my goodness. But right now you'll notice the options are swarming around this boss like a little horde of bees. That's called the homing options like formation. So you can actually switch formations once your options are maxed out to target bosses like this where they can do damage while you're dodging everywhere else. We're now in phase 2 and the boss has opened up. Oh no, that's our first death. That's okay, we can charge this back up. This is not the worst spot for that to happen, so we'll be fine. These different petals are actually going to be worth different items as well. But the challenge is if we kill too many petals, it makes the boss's patterns incredibly difficult to deal with. So there's a little bit of risk reward in terms of do we want to take them out and get those extra scoring opportunities, or do we want to play it a little bit safe? Something else to note is that when we do take a death like that, we do lose a little bit of our power-ups, so we don't quite have our full options right now, so we can't switch back to that homing options mode. We just got that upgrade. And we're also back into low rank mode, which means that the boss's patterns are slightly nicer, the bullets move a little bit slower, but we do miss out on some of those scoring opportunities. When in low rank mode, that multiplier, that green number that sometimes shows up on the screen, can only get up to about times 12. When we're in high rank mode, it can get as high as times, I think 25.6 is the maximum for that one. We're getting really close to getting back, and thankfully the rank meter just continues to build up throughout the course of time, so there's nothing special you have to do to make that happen. It's getting close to being in high rank mode again. That brings us into the final phase of this boss. It's flying now. There's actually 2 bullet patterns being fired out at once. The purple ones are a static pattern, so we know how to deal with those. The red ones are random, but you already killed it, so that was really fast. Nicely done. And as we're transitioning stages, once again, Pride, over to you.
Absolutely, and we have a lot of people chiming in on those trains from a couple of levels ago. We have $5 from RSTGD who says, I like trains, choo-choo. We also have $5 from Mr. Trains who says, I do indeed love me some trains. Trans it writes.
Oh my gosh, shout out to all the trains enthusiasts out there. You got time for one more.
Fantastic, because I have $5 from Sabasushi who also says, choo-choo.
Thank you so much, everyone. All those donations are going to such a wonderful cause in Doctors Without Borders. I think we have some open incentives. Do you have time for a quick update on what our open incentive is?
Absolutely. We currently have a couple of open incentives. We have Pet the Dog for Curse Crackers. That is 48% of the way there with $4,873. Only $5,127 to meet that. We have time and we have the wherewithal.
We definitely need to make that happen. That's going to be fantastic. No! The enemies are being so rude today. There's a lot of different types of enemies starting off the stage. Some of the smaller ones we call popcorn enemies. They'll show up in groups. The number of EX items you get per popcorn grouping is the same every time around, but which enemy has it might be different. This is a new type of enemy, though. These bombers are just brutal. Look at these red bullet patterns that they fire out. You need to take them out extremely quickly, or they will cover the screen, trap you in corners, and just generally make everything about this stage miserable. You can see when multiple of them start to come in and fire bullets at the same time, they are absolutely a priority to get rid of. With this, we are powered, I think, pretty much all the way back up. It's a little hard to tell when we're in break mode, but double break mode means we're gonna get plenty of points, which is fantastic. And we are back into that high rank mode again, so all the bullet patterns are once again at maximum difficulty, which makes the stage very interesting to try to maneuver around. Thankfully, when you kill large ships like this, it does clear the screen, so even though those patterns can feel very overwhelming in the moment, there is a way to get rid of them and sort of reset again back to a safer state there. Here comes our mid-boss. This mid-boss has an unmarked phase transition where the turrets are going to separate out, but really, once again, we kind of just want to kill stuff. This is, by the way, that boss that was originally in stage 2, but in a range mode is going to be over here with us in stage 4. It does have more health, and it has some new bullet patterns, so they did up the difficulty of it to match. It does have these 2 separated turrets that you can kill separately for different items, more scoring opportunities, but given the difficulty of that boss, we just really want to get rid of it because it's important that we continue to set up for the boss fight at the end of this level. I'll get to that later. This section, though, is so cool. Normally in this game, everything is sort of coming in from the top of the screen, you're moving forward, but in this section, there's this cool you're surrounded moment where there's 6 UFOs that lock you into the center of the screen with this laser pattern. It starts off as a hexagon, and as you kill an enemy, it'll reform the formation with 1 fewer sides, so pentagon, then square, then triangle. Another thing that's really cool here is once you kill a UFO, all the lasers on screen are going to evaporate into scores. And lasers are actually just a bunch of small bullets in a trench coat trying to get into a movie theater without paying for all of them individually, which means that there is a ton of points in every single one of those lasers because each individual bullet will turn into a score, which is fantastic for us. Now we get the spicy spaghetti meatball UFOs attacking us from all sides. I don't know why they have razor blades. It's really uncomfortable. This is one of my least favorite enemies in the game. But these are static spawns, so Ray does know where they're expected to come in and can therefore maneuver around to try to handle them. It is very helpful to have homing options in this phase, which we do, because as you can imagine, if things are encircling you from all sides, dealing with it as a mostly forward-firing ship is much more difficult. So making sure that we're fully powered up here is going to be a huge help. Not just for this, though. The other big thing that we want to be focusing on again is that boss fight at the end of the stage, and that's because phase 2 of the upcoming boss fight, gosh, when there's 2 of these things on screen, those bullet patterns are just so mean. Phase 2 of the upcoming boss fight is the highest scoring section in the entire game. So it's crucial that we try to stay as fully powered up as possible going into that boss fight to take the full advantage of the opportunity it's going to provide to us. But before we can get to Phase 2, we have to get through Phase 1. And as you can imagine, it's not very nice. It's incredibly dangerous, and our goal here is just to get through it ASAP. There are certain destructible parts on the ship right now. The edges of the wings, the turrets at the front are destructible. But again, Phase 2 is the goal here. You can track that phase transition at the top of the screen. It's that silver notch that we're working toward on the boss's health. Look at these hula hoops. Why are there red hula hoop bullets in this boss? It's so rude. When we get to Phase 2 though, that's where we're gonna see something a little bit different, which is going to be not killing the boss that fast. And that's because this is where we can really stall and get a whole bunch of scoring items. There are 2 circles, one on each side of the boss, and turrets are gonna spawn in on those circles. The turrets will only respawn once both turrets have been defeated, and which turrets spawn in are random. So Ray is having to react on the fly to what combination of turrets we get every single time they get respawned in. But the reason this is the high scoring section is because each of those turrets is gonna drop EX items and they will continue to respawn. This is not easy, as you can see with these reaction-based bullet patterns with the turrets coming in randomly, as well as the fact that we have to cross, oh my goodness, the lasers there. Holding my breath there for a second. Because we have to cross back and forth on the screen to pick up these EX items, it is an incredibly dangerous phase, but the longer we can stay here with that 25.6 multiplier, our break rate skyrocketing, the more points we can get. We cannot, however, stay here indefinitely. There is no infinite money glitch in this game. The boss will eventually run out of time. There's a timer on every single boss phase, and if we don't kill the boss and get it to the next phase quickly enough, it will explode on its own decision, and that will lose us a bunch of break rate. So it's important to make sure we transitioned, like we just did now, into that final phase. You see rapid fire lock shots, and guess what? The mines are back, and now their revenge bullets are blue, and they cover literally the entire screen. As you can see, that's absolutely brutal to deal with, but thankfully we made it past Phase 2. So if we were to take a death on this boss, it's much better to do it after the giant Phase 2 scoring opportunity than it is to do it, or it's better to do it afterwards than to do it before or during that scoring opportunity. One thing we can do is stall out a little bit on the boss. That will let our rank increase again before we get to the next stage. Looks like we're doing, no, we're just going for it. Yeah, I was like, the mines are looking pretty spiky right there.
Not on this boss, too dangerous.
Good idea to move on, good idea to move on. All right, this is gonna be a pretty long screen, so Pride, over to you, you've got plenty of time.
Absolutely, and I have a very special donation. I have $15 from the Eversong, who says, Ray, you are awesome and wonderful. $15 to give you strength to push through to the end. Take my power. We also have $25 from CPJ, calling out the couch here, saying mad props to Charbunny for setting a new bar with commentary. Y'all are both doing fantastically, by the way.
We're having a good time over here. You've got time for a few more. We got a lot of points here.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got $25 from KDK1TT, perhaps Kitty Kit, that says, wow, I left the crowd to go to bed, but how is one to sleep when this amazingness is going on? Let's go, Raelcun. Also, a great commentary, Charbunny.
Well, thank you. Yeah, shout outs to the late night crew in the crowd live with us here at whatever early time it is in the morning.
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right, here we go. This is going to bring us into stage 5. You'll notice we are back into high rank mode. The rank does increase during the scoring screen, which is pretty convenient for us. We do have a little bit of ship powering up to do. I don't think we're at full speed yet, but we can get there pretty quickly. And again, better to power up at the beginning of the stage. That's fine, beginning of the stage. So the one thing with deaths is that it does cut your break rate, but we're so early in the stage that our break rate is tiny anyway. The break rate always resets to 1 between stages, so that's not the worst spot for that to happen. Our friends are back, by the way. They have new upgrades with pink turrets. I don't even know if we got to see them because there's so much going on. Here's the next part, which is these giant blue laser turrets. On their own, they move pretty slowly, so it doesn't seem like they might be that difficult to deal with. But the problem, as you can see, is they can trap you into corners of the screen. They cut off so many different routes that you could attempt to go, which makes it very difficult not only to dodge things, but also, again, to run around collecting these EX scoring items. If items fall off the bottom of the screen, they are gone. We don't get those points. There's no way to recover that. Yeah, that laser showed up pretty quickly. You'll notice we went back into high rank mode again. The lasers are now moving quite a bit faster, making them a lot more difficult to deal with. So that's something to watch out for. We're gonna have some bombers coming in here pretty soon as well that are gonna start firing missile waves. We can farm those missiles by sitting right underneath where the ship is firing, like this, which sounds scary, but yeah, no, it is scary. We can confirm that. But it does give us an opportunity to farm a little bit, get some more points. So that's something else we can take a chance to do, is not destroy the ships right away, farm off their bullets. Small breather here as we get plot.
I don't know how I died. I was holding the fire button down.
No.
It shouldn't have killed me. I don't know.
Game is being rude today. It's tired. It's cranky after being woken up this early. But that's all right. We're going to keep going here. That's a nice little breather, but this is really a ton of enemies as we're leading into our midway boss. When we have a lot of enemies like this, it does give us a lot of opportunities to charge back up, get everything back to where we want it to be, which is fantastic. So you can see we got some speed power-ups there. Back to full speed. I think we're still short an option. Not sure if we're going to choose to do break mode. Yeah, we're going to do break mode first. That lets the meter charge so much faster. If you watch that yellow bar at the bottom of the screen, it just zooms across when we're in break mode. Does not move nearly as fast if we're not. Getting into double break mode, you'll notice we're back into high rank mode as well. So 25.6, that green multiplier shows back up on screen, which is fantastic. We do want to farm that multiplier through to the mid boss. And you'll notice the timer for the multiplier, that white number counting down right below it, is really, really high right now. Usually it's closer to like 100, 200, maybe 400. It's constantly cresting 900 in this section as we consistently farm and get that number to stay high so that we can try to carry this through to that mid boss, which is what's coming up next. We'll see a little intro barrage of enemies here, a couple small tanks, but then the big tank is gonna come out. This one's pretty fun. The missiles are gonna be back in a little bit. There's different attack patterns. That was a rude
I took
laser.
that one on purpose.
Okay.
It's a new strategy I'm working on. I'm not sure if it's worth it, but
Hey, let's give it a go.
let's try it with this run, you know?
Sounds fun. So those were some of those missiles where once again we can sit underneath them and sort of farm them up, which is a pretty helpful way to get some of those points coming back in. You can see all of them are getting multiplied by not only our break rate, which is now 40,000, that's pretty cool, but also that 25.6 multiplier. This is an interesting interaction here where we are in low rank mode, so in theory we should only be able to have a 12 times multiplier, but because we got to 25 while we were in high rank mode, it will let us keep that as long as we don't let that number go to 0. Yeah,
I don't know how that's killing me.
the game is just being a whole adventure today. It decided to show off its best/worst for the GDQ stage. Games always seem to know when they're on the GDQ stage, on like just every single time.
It's fine.
But we're out of that mid boss. Nicely done. We got through that. But if you thought one boss was good for the middle stage, oh, by the way, the break rate resets here because that boss apparently is just so large that it changes time and space and rules about stage clears. That's fine. But the game is like, well, how about we just bring back this frickin' spider boss again? That's great. And you'll notice that this time it's behind us, a location that's notoriously difficult for us to target. Thankfully, we do have our homing option, so you can see that those little ships to the side of us are down below attacking that spider, because if we kill this quickly enough, we get a bonus spider, which sounds awful to me, but does mean that we get extra scoring because it will drop more items, so we do actually want to see that come through. We can also use our lock-on shot to target behind us, and if we stay right on top of the boss, we can actually get some of our regular bullets to hit it too, but that's pretty risky. Sitting on top of a spider is not recommended, so risk-reward once again. And of course, the game can't leave us alone with that. There's other enemies coming in from other parts of the screen. Oh, hey, look, the missile ships are back. Love to see those. And this is really just warming us up for what is the worst section in the entire game. So we just saw the spider enemies make a comeback. We see some more enemies coming in. This is the part where the game's like, well, if you haven't given up so far, let's throw everything else we have at you. Other stage bosses make a return. Enemies are coming in from everywhere. This section is what we affectionately refer to as the hallway of HE double hockey sticks for fairly obvious reasons. This section speaks for itself in terms of difficulty, so Pride, I'm gonna go back over to you to carry us through this part.
Absolutely. Hallways being a theme of the night, apparently. We have $250 from Decaphon and O'Deary, who say, numbers go brrrr. Good luck getting the biggest numbies. We also have $25 from Isquen, who says 5 tickets to the train. Shmups aren't usually my go-to, but I am in awe of both the skilled maneuvers and the running commentary. Keep it up. We have $100 from Ramen Go, who says, greetings from the UK, watching the amazing Crimzon Clover run on SGDQ with the family. All the best with the rest of the run. We have $50 here from Anonymous, who says, great run, great commentary. Number go up.
Number does go up. I think you've got time for 1 or 2 more.
Absolutely. I have $250 from Evanosaurus Rex, who says, love you, Ray, and so hyped for this run. Yeah, let's hear it.
Thanks, Evan.
Thanks so much, Evan. All right, this is going to bring us into our final boss of the game. So we see that warning sign come on, letting us know the boss is about to appear, but we don't actually see it yet. We see its health bar, so the health bar is there, and you'll notice it's actually gonna be a 4-phase boss. That's the most phases we've had to deal with. But as a warm-up, we instead just get these small little ships coming in first. They're not too hard to deal with. They kind of look like our options, but you know, we're just not going to dwell on that. We're not going to think too much about the lore implications there. Instead, we're going to play the fun game of where is the final boss? Is it going to come in from the top of the screen? Is it going to come in from the bottom of the screen? No, guess what? It's been here the whole time. That hulking shadow in the background is in fact our final boss. I have no idea what its canonical name is. I like to call it Mother Brain because it's large and intimidating and vaguely circular. Here we go. Phase 1 of this boss, we're gonna have a bunch of bullets sort of locking us into a V shape in the center of the screen, and you'll see Ray maneuvering back and forth to bait the boss into firing those arcs of bullets in a way that doesn't completely cover everything. The boss is then gonna cry about that and fire a bunch of blue bullets out of its eyes, like, get better at this. Phase 2, our first pattern here is gonna have bullets sort of fanning and pushing us in to restrict our movement, followed by laser eyes that are gonna try to hit us at the center of the screen where we were just corralled into. It gets faster each time, so you'll see that sometimes we take things out. Oh my goodness, you actually dodged that one. That's super scary. A lot of times we break there so we don't have to deal with it. That's okay. This attack is also just brutal. It kind of looks like the boss's pustules in its eyes. Like, if your eyes look like that, please go see a doctor. Phase 3, the boss's options are laser turrets. Of course, those are super fun. Once again, they're not necessarily the fastest moving type of bullet, but they can cut us off and really restrict us into different corners, which is super not what we want to see. So we do want to take out those turrets quickly to keep things moving. This brings us into phase 4, where the boss turns into an orb. Thank you, audience. It's going to slam the screen to try to crush us like most bosses tend to do when they get this desperate. It does move faster the lower it gets in health, so as it gets a little healthier, you'll see it speed up. And that's where we really have to be careful to keep dodging it and keep an eye on its patterns. There we go. It is not time yet, though. Not time yet, though. And that's because we got to stage 5 without using a continue. Everyone, please join me in welcoming the final boss. Yeah, there's a bonus one. And this one looks like a ship. In fact, this one we can actually unlock in arcade mode because it is a fighter that's very similar to us. This one has a cycle of patterns that it's going to go through, no phases. So first pattern is these randomized bullets. This is one of the few just completely random patterns in the game. So of course they wait to throw this at you until the final boss, so you don't get a chance to practice it until this moment. Very, very brutal to deal with. We are back in high rank mode as well, so all the patterns are going to be as difficult as possible. This next one, these giant fans of bullets mean we have to circle the boss to dodge them, but it is going to fire a laser out of the bottom of the ship that's going to try to hit us, and the boss is sort of following us around. And because this boss is a ship, if we do hit it, we do take damage, unlike we would have with tanks, which are grounded enemies. This attack here, these bullets are actually going to bounce off the side of the screen sometimes and come back, creating this incredibly awkward crisscross of different bullet patterns that we have to continuously dodge. Excellent micro-dodging in here. Oh, sorry, I jinxed it. That one was my fault. Don't worry about it. You'll notice we're spamming lock shots. The boss is actually countering our lock shots and turning them into fireworks, but that's a great way to quickly recover meter after a death like that. We are about to take out this final boss, which is really exciting. Come on, come back across the screen. We're waiting. Okay, but we're not actually done yet. Would you believe me if I said there's a final boss? I promise this is actually the last one though. But because we got through that last boss on 1 life, no continues, we get the true final boss of this game with the worst patterns ever. So this one has a mix. There's random pink bullets going everywhere. There's these like lava arcs coming down from the boss itself. That transitions into these comets. We do not have full speed, so this pattern becomes even more difficult to dodge because those comets are moving very, very quickly and the boss is hovering around, getting closer and closer to us over time. We're also back in high rank mode, so that means everything is just the worst. This pattern, lots of different radial, yeah, that one moves so quickly on high rank mode. Again, spamming that lock shot, you see the fireworks on screen. The boss is canceling out our lock shots with its own, but that's fine. It's okay that we're not dealing damage to it during our invulnerability phase. We are specifically trying to repower up our ship.
Oh, that was a bad dodge. We're fine. We're fine. Everything's fine.
We're fine. It's all right. This boss, by the way, is going to keep cycling these 3 attacks for quite a while. Yes, thank you. Let's get some encouragement going. We are now in the boss's final attack. This is its desperation phase. This is the last attack we will see in this game. It's just a storm of these green bullets. If we do get back into high rank mode, it's going to look even worse. But even with that, you can see there's not a ton of room to dodge. Everything's moving between fast and slow, quick and slow. And we're trying to look at the boss's health to finish it off with one final lock shot.
I got it, I think.
Oh, all right, we'll watch. There we go. You see the storm of bullets coming out of the boss's explosion. Those all count toward our score. We are going to wait for the boss to finally explode. It throws a bit of a temper tantrum here. It's a little grumpy about being beaten. Whatever, we got you, haha. And time will be coming up. No! GG's, over 20 trillion.
That was the goal.
And the 1 credit clear.
It was a little messy, but we got there. I do have some people I want to thank while the credits are playing here. So thanks first of all to the Games Committee for letting me do 2 shmups up on GDQ. I know not even every GDQ has a shmup. This one is my favorite of all time, like I mentioned earlier. And of course, to Chur Bunny for being here, helping me with this, because I absolutely cannot talk while I play this game, unless it's like the we're fine, like the panic noises that we got at the end. I want to thank the people on the restreams who reached out to me trying to get some information, particularly the Japanese restream. Last event at AGDQ, my Death Smiles run was added very last minute, and somebody who actually plays Death Smiles was able to hop on and add some very good information, very short notice, and I appreciate that a lot. I believe they're commentating right now, so thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu. And there were more people I wanted to thank, but it's leaving my brain at the moment. So if you have a quick donation so I can recover my thoughts, KingsPride,
yeah,
that would be
absolutely.
lovely.
We have $5 from Momo Narion, who says, bonus spider with you there, Char Bunny? No, thank you.
Thank you for understanding me on that one.
Yeah. I want to thank the Binary Breakers, Lady Arcaders, Frame Fatales, fast-paced events. There's a lot of really small events out there in between GDQs. They're all really awesome. So if you want to get into speedrunning, you don't know where to start, I highly suggest looking for some of these small events. They're great. They're great sources of community. I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much. We're almost done with the credits. This was budgeted into the estimate because there's a very important quote here. It's a big meme in the shooting game community because this was one of the best-selling doujins shooting games of all time. And this translation at the end is iconic. So the first line that pops up on the screen here, crowd, if you could say it with me, it's about to pop up. That would be a lot of fun. Once we say this, then we can cut and we're done. So thank you so much for waiting with us. Shooting game, never die. Thank you, everybody.